On this episode of the Ben Greenfield Fitness Podcast.
I'm trying to jump up. I'm trying to conjure up as much life force as possible so that by the time my feet hit the ground, it's like I'm alive. But what you really need is those deep, vulnerable, man-to-man conversations that only the guys talk about. A gazelle gets attacked by a cheetah. Cheetah drags it in the forest. All of a sudden, it's holding on to the gazelle's neck. For that brief moment while the cheetah goes off and gets her cubs, the gazelle is still laying there. What happens next is very interesting.
Health, performance, nutrition, longevity, ancestral living, biohacking, and much more. My name is Ben Greenfield. Welcome to the show. Check, 1, 2, mic check, 1, 2. Oh, hey, sorry, I didn't see that you were already listening. That was my behind-the-scenes mic check. It's very, very technical, very advanced. It involves me saying words like that to make me feel official. Hey, Ben Greenfield here, and there is an episode that I'm pretty stoked to get out to you today. It's with my buddy, Drew Cannoli. This guy is deep. He's much deeper than perhaps the videos you may have seen of him on Fit Life TV, pulverizing kale. He goes way beyond that. Drew goes way beyond that. The dude, and I'm not kidding you, has even appeared to me in my dreams, and he's able to direct himself into people's dreams. He is extremely well-versed in all manners of spirituality, plant medicine, fasting, nutrition, fitness, biohacking. The guy's a man after my own heart. As a matter of fact, if I live in Spokane and he lives in San Diego, if we lived closer, neither of us would probably get anything done because we just hang out playing drums and harps and guitars and figuring out how to lucid dream. So that's a big enough preview for you, I guess. So before we jump in, I do need to tell you about a little back to school special because it's back to school time. My kids aren't going back to school. They opted to drop out of 6th grade, as you may have heard, yet they will still be eating some of the same items that they've eaten since they were babies that have supported their brain formation and kept them nice and healthy and kept them from doing the same damage to their gut that I did when I was a kid that, I still have to deal with. They eat sardines and avocados and sweet potatoes and all manner of wonderful, healthy nutrition, but they also absolutely love these chocolatey, crunchy, coconutty bars that I designed out of real food that I now have manufactured and formulated and have available for you over on the Kion website. They are a perfect thing to throw into your kid's backpack. Children love these things. They absolutely adore them. And the reason for that is because they taste they taste almost like candy, but they don't spike your blood sugar, and they're low glycemic index, and they've just got gelatin and almonds and sea salt and raw honey and real food in them. Even if you don't have kids, you can grab some of these for yourself and take advantage of the back to school sale, even if you're not going back to school, on these bad boys, these Kion bars. So here's how to get 20% until August 31st, which is about a week from now. If you're listening to this at the time the podcast comes out, from now until August 31st, you get 20% off the Kion bars. And all you do is you go to getkion.com and you use code BACK2SCHOOL. That's 2, the number 2. BACK2SCHOOL. That gets you 20% off the Kion bars. So use code BACK2SCHOOL to get 20% off any order of Kion bars at getkion.com. This podcast is also brought to you by JOOVV. In case you don't know what that spells, it spells better testosterone, reduced pain and inflammation, better athletic performance, better blood flow. This is exactly what I wander into my office, stand in front of, pull my pants down, and work in a very intimate, close relationship with for about 10 to 20 minutes a day, every single day, harnessing the power of near infrared and red light. There is a host of research on this, not just put out by this company, not just biased research, but actual research on photobiomodulation modulation that is incredibly powerful, incredibly comprehensive. And these new Juve devices, because they're low EMF and high power, are the most efficient and safe way to get yourself exposed to near infrared and red light therapy. Not only that, but they are going to give every one of my listeners who gets a Juve, whether the tiny little Juve Go you can take with you or the huge Juve Elite devices I have in my office, whatever you want, you get a nice little bonus gift when you use code BEN at checkout when you go to juve.com/Ben. That's JOOVV/Ben. Use code BEN at checkout. All right, that's enough of me narcissistically saying my first name. Let's progress on to today's show with the great Drew Canole.
You want to take a little sniff of this?
Little. Is sniffing as annoying to people during a podcast as chewing? What am I going to sniff here, Drew?
What do you think?
What?
It's a test tube.
It smells like a spa. It smells like one of those steam rooms. Just pure eucalyptus.
You may feel yourself getting more and more relaxed as you listen to this.
We need to be lucid, dude. That's the same reason I didn't take you up on a shot of bourbon before our podcast. Drew Canole, the king of San Diego. We're here at your house, dude. You have a pretty nice view.
Thank you, brother. Well, the king of San Diego, for whatever that means.
Tell me about your new house. What are you most excited as far as what you've built into this house? Because we walked past a cold pool and a sauna, and you've got crystals everywhere, and a Buddha and an electrical muscle stimulator. Tell me about the house overall. Like, I just want to hear what you put into it and why. And we may rabbit hole a little bit, but that's okay.
I love it because it's our sanctuary, right? As men, we need that place where we can go when we're not slaying dragons.
I never understood, because a lot of people have asked Jessa and I why we don't live this nomadic homeschooling lifestyle, traveling the world with our children and living in maybe a trailer driving across America, which is kind of a shoot me now scenario for me, or
be fun for a week.
In Airbnbs. And I am convinced, maybe this is stereotypical when I say a man, I'm convinced a man needs a castle. Mm-hmm. I'm convinced a family needs roots. I'm convinced that you need to have a place with a neighborhood and a community and a place you call home that you can come to as your oasis after all the travel. And you certainly have built that here.
I feel that. And thank you for noticing. Last time we hung out, we were at the other place in Torrance.
Yeah.
And it was likened to this, lots of space, cold plunge sauna, all the biohacking gadgets that you and I love. But it wasn't, we didn't have the yard. We didn't have the garden. We didn't have the beehives coming in. Mm-hmm. And it's nice to let the pups outside and run around and go out with the bow and arrow. Yeah. Likened to what you do, and shoot and get outside, walk around naked. I mean, how great is it to do that?
It's great, especially when it winds up on Instagram.
Yeah, according to your Instagram, thousands of likes.
Yeah. The only thing worse in terms of haters when you walk around naked is walking around naked with a weapon and getting the comments from any, sorry, no offense, you guys, because I love you, but you do leave these comments, from the plant-based community and the vegans who get offended with me walking around with a weapon. When you combine that with the soccer moms and I'm being stereotypical again, and the soccer dads with their children viewing Instagram, I catch a lot of flack if I'm naked with a weapon, especially if there's a ribeye steak involved. That's Instagram fodder.
You can't blame society. I mean, a little bit because of it's controversial, all the mass shootings that are happening and whatnot. I mean, it's kind of a scary time we're living in, but I think the best offense is a great defense. So especially when it comes to your loved ones and taking care of the fam.
Yeah, I don't get the impression you're like a full-on zombie apocalypse prepper with a bunch of shotguns hidden away in the attic.
Not a bunch. We got a few here. Yeah, it's more about the food and the superfoods, more importantly.
Yeah. Tell me about, based on everything that you have here, because I think it'd be intriguing for people to learn how a guy who is as curious and passionate about optimizing their body and their mind and their sleep and their routines as you are, when you wake up in the morning in a house like this with all the different toys and all the different superfoods, what's a typical day in the life of Drew Canole look like as far as how you're actually going through and using all these little toys and superfoods and all the fun things you have here. And you can take your time. We got plenty of time.
Yeah, of course. It's so easy to go down the rabbit hole.
We will, trust me.
You know, when you wake up, like, well, what should I do first? Because there's so much to do. But I found for me, and you may feel this way as well.
I'm going to move this mic slightly away from your face. There we go. There we go. It was just like popping a little bit. Perfect.
Yeah. I actually, one of the things I love to do is write. And you came out with this gratitude journal a while ago.
Yeah.
And getting grateful in the morning is one of the greatest things you can do. So I love to wake up. I love getting grateful. I love meditating, just quieting my mind, even if it's for 5-10 minutes.
I think a lot of people hear that, but they don't get the logistics of it.
Yeah.
Like, do you get out of bed first and go do your gratitude journaling and take a dump and then go find a place to meditate?
Good
do
call.
You just lay there in bed and meditate? How do people who get the meditation and the gratitude done with first thing in the morning actually do it logistically? Yeah.
I think it's all about how you get out of bed. You know, there's ways to get out of bed. I've never used a snooze alarm. I've always told my subconscious before going to bed, wake me up at 4:30. I call subconscious.
Yeah.
And without fail, I wake up at that time.
Yeah.
And I really almost project myself out of bed. My girlfriend now thought it was weird when we first started dating. She's like, who's this dolphin trainer, like jumping out of bed like I'm freeing Willy, like in the morning. Yeah. But I find that enthusiasm and that energy.
So when you say you project yourself out of bed, you mean you literally
I'm literally jumping up. I'm trying to jump up. I'm trying to conjure up as much life force as possible so that by the time my feet hit the ground, it's like I'm alive.
Yeah.
Because I had 1 million people on this planet that died the day before, and they were affected. Like, we woke up, we had both of our eyes, which are the two greatest gifts that you and I have, and we're able to see, and we're able to live one more freaking day, Ben. Like, that's important.
Yeah.
So waking up, getting grateful for that, and not having, thankfully, not too many of my friends have passed away. So they're all here with me on this magical journey that we get to call life.
Yeah.
So that's a lot to jump out of bed for.
That's a good perspective when you wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
Versus where's my coffee?
Yeah, where's my coffee? Snooze alarm 7 times.
Yeah.
Which is easy to do with the chili pad.
Yeah.
That cold 55 degree.
Yeah. All right,
like you want to lay in there.
There's the first hack you've mentioned. So you're on the chili pad. Do you have the and the chili pad is also known as the Ooler for those of you listening in. Produced by my friend Todd Youngblood, whose his dad invented the water bed. And so Todd's been surrounded by the sleep industry for a long time. And then Todd invented a way to circulate cold water under your body. And then he just upgraded that unit with the ability to switch it to 55 degrees.
Yeah, 55 is where I keep it.
When he introduced that feature, I do the same thing. It's
so
55
nice.
degrees. It never changes. Between that and CBD before bed, those are the two things that increase my deep sleep.
CBD added, like I said, 2 hours onto my deep sleep. I was at 2 hours a night. Now I'm at 4 hours a night with CBD, at least 3 nights a week.
That's huge.
And HRV is through the roof because of it.
Yeah. Yeah, the cool environment and targeting the endocannabinoid system before bed, I'm convinced those are game changers. Those are the first 2 things I tell people when they ask me how to increase their deep sleep levels.
And scent. Are you use essential oils and a diffuser next to you or anything like that?
I diffuse, and so I've got a few different blends. I'm curious to hear what you use after you wave that eucalyptus under my nose before we started, but I tend to go with this company out of Ashland, Oregon called Essential Oil Wizardry. They're like super woo-woo. Like every bottle has a frequency crystal in the bottom of the bottle.
Well, my kind of people
with healing frequencies. People who bottle the oils before they go in the room to bottle it, like they have to pass a profile of mood state score to make sure they're in a good mood and there's no negative emotions. I'm not shitting you. Everything's wild crafted, hand picked, like very small. I don't know how scalable. I don't think this company's ever going to be as big as like Young Living or what's the other one? There's a bunch of them, but Young Living and what's the other main popular essential oils company?
doTERRA.
Yeah, doTERRA, right. So
I got a bunch of that here.
Yeah. So Essential Oil Wizardry, I like that stuff. And then the other one I use is the Young Living Essential Oil. But typically, lavender, rose, bergamot, any of those diffusing.
Yep, lavender and rose.
Yeah.
And depending on the night, if you're just really in the mood to, have a good time with your wife or your girlfriend or your husband, Yingling is actually a good one for libido.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
Yingling, if I can pronounce it, and frankincense.
Frankincense
is also
too.
a really nice opener.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I put frankincense on my feet before bed sometimes.
Frankincense also, I've found, induces more vivid dreaming.
Yes.
Probably because it is a mildly psychedelic oil, and so you might get a little bit more DMT release by the pineal gland.
And myrrh.
Yeah. Yep.
And skate liver oil. If you try that, or ratfish oil. Ratfish is really good for lucid space and opening up portals to dream.
And it's got such an attractive name.
Yeah.
Ratfish. Yeah. The
ghost fish.
The frankincense and myrrh. There are a couple companies, like Young Living has a blend called Three Wise Men, and it's gold, frankincense,
that's
and
cool.
myrrh. That is and I realize we just sound like super just like guys with way too much time on our hands for those of you listening. But when I get a massage, I actually diffuse gold, frankincense, and myrrh, and it's my favorite. Just relaxes my whole body, and I feel amazing.
What kind of massage you like? Deep tissue, Swedish, mixture of both? What are we talking here? Katsu?
Dude, so my massage therapist, Tracy, comes over to my house on Wednesday nights. 8:30 p.m. And I say goodnight to Jess and the boys because we go till like 11 p.m. Like, it's a long massage. And I lay on, I know you're looking into this right now and you don't have one, but I lay on that giant pulsed electromagnetic field. Because that thing...
He's coming over today for us.
Yeah, he's actually coming over after this podcast, I guess, to show us the unit, because I wanted to show it to you. So it's this Pulse Center's PEMF table, it just rocks your body the whole time you're on it. You could lay on that without the massage and feel like you got a massage. And then I've got 2 speakers on either side of the massage table, and I use Michael Tyrrell's Whole Tones, which blast your body with sound healing frequencies the whole time that you're on the table.
Yeah.
I diffuse the gold, frankincense, and myrrh, and then the final piece, and this is the game changer, is I use an intranasal compounded blend of ketamine and oxytocin. It melts your entire body. and Tracy says when she works on me, she says it's like working on I forget the way that she phrased this, but it's like a marinated piece of steak. Like, she can just slide her hands in anywhere she wants to go. Her elbows up and down the IT band, elbows up and down the back, like knuckles deep into the neck. She'll do like jaw alignment therapy in some really tight spots in the jaw, and I don't even budge. You could do scalpel surgery with a knife on me while I'm on that thing, and
you wouldn't even move.
I wake up the next morning and biomechanically feel like I did when I was 15 years old. Like, no aches, no pains, just every joint free as a bird. You're a little bit tired because that ketamine oxytocin blend depletes some of your 5-HTP. So you take, I'll wake up in the morning.
Interesting.
I take Keonaminos, which gives you the neurotransmitters for replenishing the 5-HTP. And then I take the Onnit New Mood, because that also has, I think they designed that originally for after you've taken psychedelics or after you've partied.
Oh, I'm sure.
I think that was the original idea for that supplement.
Smart.
So I take those 2 on Thursday morning after I've got the ones, just to replenish everything. So... yes, long reply to your question with that. And then the massage is, of course, just all deep tissue.
I think we can go home now.
Yeah,
I think people have the massage ritual.
Done.
That's what they came for. This is gold.
Yeah. All right. So we rabbit holed as promised. So you get up in the morning, you got your gratitude, you got your meditation, you were already sleeping with your chili pad.
Yeah.
And then what comes next?
Cold plunge, jumping in there.
And you have a special unit out there I haven't seen before. Tell me about it.
I believe it's called a Hygo from Michigan.
Like
Hygo, Hygo.
Okay.
And it's 120 gallons, so it's pretty big.
Yeah.
It can fit 2 people.
Yeah.
Goes down to, again, 35, 40 degrees, something like that. I try to keep it around 50.
Does it hook up to the main water system for your house and circulate the water that way?
No, I wish it did. We have to empty it every 2 weeks.
Yeah,
but
to clean it, you mean?
Yeah, to clean it. I don't put any chlorine in there, so I have the gardener dump it out in the flowers and the beds that we don't eat.
What about like a food grade hydrogen peroxide? I know a lot of people will use those.
I believe we're using something similar.
Okay.
I know there's an ozonator on it.
Yeah.
And we use enzymes. So
yeah, perfect. All right, cool. So you hit the cold pool in the morning?
Hit the cold poo. Cold poo.
I take a cold poo in the morning too.
Yeah, in the morning.
Yeah, it's not too cold. It's pretty warm actually.
Yeah.
So hit the cold pool, then what?
Hit the gym. Mm-hmm. So I usually drive 15 minutes to go to Fit, meet my buddies there.
Yeah.
Get that, like we talked about before, but blue zones. As a man, it's important to have the wolf pack. So you meet a few buddies in the gym, you have your conversation, you have that alone time.
Yeah.
Super important.
That is something I've identified as kind of a missing component of my life. Mm-hmm. The kind of like the guys up in Spokane, Washington, where I live, who I can go crush it at the gym with, or go whatever, play ultimate frisbee or whatever. It's kind of a very small crowd there, and so I'm toying around right now with the idea of joining up with like a local CrossFit,
smart,
somewhere I can go work
community
out with a tribe. Because as much as I like to exercise solo, I've identified that every single day there's like, a good 60 minutes of my life where I could be with other people who are pushing me or inspiring me. And so that's at the forefront of my mind right now, is like getting with a wolf pack for my workouts rather than doing all of them solo.
Well, didn't you post something recently about that?
I did.
I heard a little bit where you were very vulnerable and you opened up. And
I read a book called The Second Mountain, mm-hmm. and an equally good book called Falling Upwards, which describes how you get to a certain point in your life where you've climbed the mountain, you've been successful, you've for a long time been driven by ego, often a lone wolf mentality.
Welcome to my life, man.
In which you're independent and you're self-sustaining and you're checking off Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You're making money. You're creating the ability to reproduce and have a family. You've got food. Everything's kind of on cruise control, and then you realize that is not what makes one happy in a long and lasting way with true fulfillment. What actually makes you happy is being with others, using your skills to care for others, being interdependent on others. And sometimes it takes some pain and suffering or loneliness to realize that, especially even if you've made it, you can be surrounded by wealth and biohacks and toys and comfort and, ribeye steaks, rolling out the freezer and whatever else. But you realize, like, if you're sitting there at night eating a ribeye steak by yourself.
Yeah, in your castle happy. Alone.
Yeah, in your castle alone. Exactly. So I've identified, especially for me, not living in LA or San Diego or San Francisco or New York or these places where there's just, it's rife with folks who I would say are pretty like-minded as far as I'm concerned. Like, it's
on the same page.
It's easy for me to hunt down passionate, successful entrepreneurs who have a deep understanding and appreciation of health and fitness and nutrition and wellness. That's a little bit few and far between up in Spokane, Washington. And so, I've been recently, just in the past month, really realizing fully, especially after reading those two books, how there is that void in my life. So when you say you go and meet your wolf pack at the gym, makes me a little bit envious. I'm like, I got to get my wolf pack at the gym to go work out with. Yeah.
So important, waking up first thing, because when you're around family, when you're around your wife or your girlfriend or your significant other, it's great. But what you really need is those deep, vulnerable, man-to-man conversations that only the guys talk about.
Yeah.
What I see is a lot of men will talk to their women about things that's a guy conversation. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden their wife is triggered and they're dealing with the emotions and the female storm, which a lot of women can have.
Yeah.
And it's important to ground with your wolf pack and be initiated.
Yeah.
A lot of men aren't initiated anymore, especially you're doing such a fine job raising your boys and whatnot.
Yeah, that whole rite of passage, ceremonial passage into manhood particularly, that a lot of men don't cross over and later in their lives go and do whatever, Ironman triathlons and Navy SEAL fit and all these different crucibles. Excuse me, burping up my Zevia soda there. Thank you, Drew.
Cream soda, by the way, if you guys want to know.
Cream soda. And you've
Ben
got
Greenfield's
ginger,
favorite.
Brought to you by. And, with River and Taryn, I don't want them, like I had to do, to feel like they need to go out and prove themselves at 20 years old, at 25 years old, or go after, whatever, college or traveling the world or whatever they do, in kind of that in-between time before they start their careers or whatever, however life works out for them. I don't want them to feel like they're still searching for when they cross the threshold into becoming a man versus that being formally arranged for them. You know, in their case, it will be, you know, a week out in the wilderness by themselves without their brother, completely self-dependent, suffering, having to find food, having to dissolve their ego, and spend a great deal of time in a very introspective setting without their books and without any entertainment, and just being in nature, and then coming out of that experience, dissolving the ego even further with a plant medicine experience, and then finally crossing that threshold into manhood, having an official cutting of the cord ceremony, having the expectation after that that they, to a much greater extent than they have been doing up until that time, and this will be when they're around 13 years old, providing for themselves, making their own money to help pitch in and pay for the family's food and the bills, and become a contributory member of society, and go through that dark place of pain and suffering and ego dissolution in order to find that. I think that every boy at some point in their lives should go through that, and I don't think it should happen when you're 25 by you feeling like you need to go sign up for an Ironman triathlon to cross your threshold into manhood. You know, it's just, and honestly, like that's the itch a lot of guys are trying to scratch, I think.
Yeah. Well, a lot of guys grow up without dads, unfortunately, especially in the 80s, 90s.
Or absent fathers.
Yeah. It started in the 50s with, you know, men going to war, and then women feeling like they needed to get a job as well to carry the family. Now it's, you need two people to carry the house, and it's unfortunate. Yeah. But I love what you said, you know, 13 years old, setting that up, creating that initiation, super powerful. Yeah.
So you go off, you get your cold plunge in, you go off, you do the workout with the guys. And for you right now, you're pretty fit. Like, you know, you have a whole, because I know you built your entire company. We podcast several years ago. And by the way, for those of you listening in, if you want to hear Drew's whole backstory about how he founded this massively successful superfood company called Organifi, spelled with an I, as you hear me say when I talk about Organifi in many of my commercials.
And what kind of accent? Your Italian accent. There it is.
I podcast with Drew about his journey in creating that company. And if you go to the show notes for this podcast, which are at bengreenfieldfitness.com/Drew, DREW, I'll link to that initial podcast. And during that podcast episode, we talked about how you had Fit Life TV, you were a YouTube personality, and one of the things you were known for was being this fit, healthy, vibrant guy who would really inspire others. And you know, you've maintained that body and that fitness, and I'm sure, you know, some people would be curious how you're doing that, like what your actual workout and exercise routine looks like.
Yeah, for sure. For me, a lot of it's mindset, like into you. I work out 5 days a week. Track everything. Yeah. Right. Get your HRV and all your stats.
You track HRV. What else do you track?
I track my sleep. I track what workouts I'm doing.
Oura Ring? Are you wearing Oura Ring?
I have an Oura Ring. I have the Apple Watch.
Oh, the Apple Watch, yeah.
So the Series 4 or whatever, it does a pretty good job.
Yeah,
I worry about EMFs.
The new 4 is pretty good for that. Yeah. And I have one of these acoustimeters at home, but I don't have an Apple Watch. I should have brought my acoustimeter down here to test your watch.
I think I do have a little acoustimeter here. We can pull it out.
Yeah, we could find out about the Apple Watch. Or if you're listening in and you've already tested your Apple Watch, go leave a comment for Drew and I, so we know. So using the watch as your tracker for HRV, for sleep.
Exactly.
What else are you tracking?
What I love is that you can compete with everyone else. So we have this competition at Organifi where we have 70 of our employees competing over the next 90 days.
They're all wearing
to lose body fat. Not all of them, but I'd say 30%. 35% are tracking everything, so it's fun to chime in, and you can send your buddies messages. That's Sage in the background.
Yeah, the ferocious wolf.
The ferocious wolf, huge, 25-pound mini golden doodle.
If you have visitors, we can press pause. By the way,
no, we're good.
Okay.
Hey, I want to interrupt today's show to tell you about Viore. What is Viore? Well, Viore is a company that has a new perspective on performance apparel. It's perfect if you're sick and tired of traditional old workout gear, spandex and sleeveless shirts, yada, yada, yada. This stuff is built to function like traditional athletic gear, but the designs are so great. You can wear it when you're traveling. You can wear it at cocktail parties. It's great for surfing, paddling, training, yoga, visiting farmers market, you name it. This stuff just looks good. It's an athletic clothing company that focuses primarily on men. Everything's sustainably made from recycled plastics. They have an athletic fit with a 4-way stretch, quick drying properties, and it looks really good. If you see me wandering around, most of the time I'm dressed in my Viore clothing, and you get a 25% discount. That's significant on any of the Viore shirts, shorts, any of their stuff. Go check out their website, and you get that 25% discount by doing the following. Go to VioreClothing.com. That's VUORI clothing.com, VioreClothing.com, and enter code BEN25 at checkout. That's automatically going to get you 25% off of your purchase from VioreClothing.com. I've got one other big clothing discount for you, and this is the other pair of shorts that I wear, particularly to the beach or anything that involves water. These are water shorts originally designed for surfers and lifeguards, but they've expanded now and made their stuff available to anybody, and it's Birdwell Beach Breeches. So this stuff is overbuilt, meaning they use a 4-way stretch microfiber called Surf Stretch, but they also use their unbreakable Surf Neil nylon that they developed themselves for shorts that are the best pair of gear you're ever going to find for any beach activities, period. Outside Magazine called these things the 501s of the beach. They've got awesome fades and detailing, the ability for you to go to their website and make your own custom gear, custom designed jackets, custom designed board shorts. Birdwell just makes good looking stuff that doesn't break. As a matter of fact, it's so tough, it comes with a lifetime guarantee. You're not only going to get that lifetime guarantee, but you're also going to get 10% off of your first Birdwell Beach Breeches purchase and free shipping for any order over $99. The way you do that is you go to birdwell.com, birdwell.com, and you use discount code BENG at birdwell.com. I feel like based on these two commercials that you are pretty much equipped for the rest of the summer, for the rest of life, for any time that you need clothing. So those are two good leads for you. Viore Clothing, Birdwell Beach Breeches, you're going to be geared up to the T.
I think that was Marcos, the gardener, the extraordinaire.
Yeah.
He's been with me for, 2.5 years.
Yeah.
May's been with me for 8.5 years.
Yeah, the
when
garden
we first
is
started
beautiful,
Fit Life
by
TV.
the way.
Thank you.
I want to get into what you've planted outdoors, but get through the workout and workout tracking and what your fitness is looking like right now.
Yeah.
How you're doing that.
So strength and conditioning. I still love to lift heavy. I know it's probably not the greatest thing, being 38 years old, but with all of Ben Greenfield's hacks of maintaining joint stability and bone density.
It is good to it's good to either simulate heavy lifting by activating some of those same satellite cell proliferation pathways via things like blood flow restriction training or variable resistance training using like the X3 bar I've talked about, or using like single set to failure, isometric training or super slow training. But I will not lie, top of the totem pole is always going to be strongman style, picking heavy shit up.
Yeah, that's what I do.
So there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. And I think at least, really, most of the research shows that once a week is adequate enough if you're lifting heavy stuff with compound lifts. Yeah.
So 5-6 days a week. I love it. And I'm 195, probably 8.5%, 9% body fat. I'm about double the body fat that you are.
And are you doing?
So I'm feeling pretty fat.
Yeah. Well, you're talking to Mr. Skinny Jeans over here. Are you doing body part split training?
Yes. Okay. So I'll do chest and tricep. I'll do back and buys.
Yeah.
Kind of the old Arnold stuff.
Old school bodybuilding style training.
And then I'll do some intensity stuff one or 2 days a week, depending on heart rate variability and how rested I am. Yeah. Tracking that. I just ordered a Whoop band to track HRV. I don't know if you've heard about that.
Yeah, I've interviewed them on my show. I like the technology. I don't like that it emits a light on the back of your arm while you're asleep.
Oh, interesting.
And the other thing, even though the data I get from that is as good as I get from an Oura Ring, for example, like the sleep data. The other problem is I don't like to wear things on my wrist while I'm sleeping.
Yeah, some people hate that.
Yeah, I don't like. I take off my watch. I can't sleep with it on. So for me, even though their technology is good, I like the device. I have a lot of clients that use it. I just wear the Ring, but the Whoop isn't bad. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The other comment that I have about the workout and the body split style training is because I know you and I before we recorded we were talking about leaning up.
Yes.
and really maximizing fat burning. I don't do body split style training. I did a little bit of it when I was bodybuilding, but even then, I used more of the route of 3 to 4 times a week full body training, whether that's compound lifting, whether that is full body elastic band training, full body super slow training, full body blood flow resistance band training, because most of the research on elevated beta oxidation, fat burning during the day, increased metabolic rate, etc., it shows that these full body lifts are superior. So I typically will do concurrent strength and endurance training, meaning that, I think I worked out with you once down here in San Diego, and that's similar to what we were doing. So, a typical workout.
All the kettlebells.
You've got you're doing like an AMRAP for 60 minutes of kettlebell swings, deadlifts, squats, planks, hinging, pushing, pulling. But really, by the time you walk out of the gym, it's not just your pecs that are swole. Like every body part has been worked. And I have found, and most research studies that I've looked into, fat loss simultaneous to muscle maintenance or muscle gain have found that style full body compound lifting, especially if you're working high intensity interval training in at the same time as the weight training, is superior than body split style training for simultaneous fat loss and muscle gain, although body split style training is superior if your only goal is just the muscle gain, like the bodybuilding style approach. But I don't have the time to do both. Like my fitness goals are to stay lean, to stay strong, and to elevate my metabolic rate. And I can do that far more efficiently with compound lifting 3 to 4 times a week, working my high intensity stuff into that. And then on the days in between, that's like, the swimming and the sauna and the yoga and, the walking and more of the restorative work. And that's generally how I roll. So yeah.
I'll switch it up.
Yeah.
Test it out.
I'd be curious how your body responds to that. Yeah. And I can send you some workouts as well.
That'd be awesome.
Like the style of training I do. Okay, so you get your workout in, you've done your cold pool. What comes next? Are you a breakfast skipper, or are you fasted at that point when you go to work out?
I fast 4 days a week, so I'll go till 11, 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and then I'll eat. So I feel good
so like that. Like a 16-hour-ish.
Yeah, 16 hours, brains on fire. I usually go into the office 3 days a week now. I was going in 5 days a week. So I actually don't even have an office in my office anymore.
Yeah.
And it's nice.
Yeah.
So we hired a CEO, Jamel, who's been with me for 6 years.
So you've shifted into, are you you're not in the C-suite, but you're like the president/founder?
Basically, yeah, president/founder in the C-suite, observing, letting them make the decisions, but still, I'm a part of it, but I'm not a part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. But you're still majority owner of the company. Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. I'm jealous of you in that respect, which gives me two things that now I'm officially envious of you about the wolf pack. In that,
I got a bunch of them on YouTube. Brother,
my offices are in Boulder, Colorado, right? So at the Keon offices, I'm down there once a month or once every 2 months. So not only do I not have an office at my company, when I go there, they just kind of clear out a standing desk for me to stand at and do my thing. But I am relatively unplugged from some of the company culture, some of the team adventures. And that's one thing I really appreciated about Organifi when I visited your guys' office, where you've got Waffle Wednesdays?
Yeah.
You've got a yoga instructor coming in every day at noon.
Water balloon fights in the summer.
Yeah, you guys have built a really cool company culture. That's probably my biggest struggle as, currently I'm the CEO of Keon. That's my actual position as CEO and founder.
Yeah.
And I am not at the actual offices that much. I'm out speaking. I'm the front man. Making deals at conferences, or I am studying up on ingredients for new formulations, which I love to do. Like, I absolutely love.
That's your passion zone for sure.
My head dug in PubMed for like 2 hours just researching what I want in the next, whatever longevity ingredient or sleep ingredient or whatever. But I don't have an office, period. At Keon. So.
And it compounds with the Wolfpack thing.
Yeah.
Because that community feel.
Yeah.
Like being able to just even go in for me for 2 or 3 hours and give out 35 hugs and just one-on-ones with as many people as possible and just pour into them.
Yeah.
Like, you're the kind of guy that loves pouring wisdom and inspiration into others.
Yeah.
And it's hard sometimes when you're on a podcast all day and you're traveling around and you're not able to make that one-on-one connection.
It is. Or just bringing my boys down to daddy's office, right?
Yeah.
To see Keon. That's a big problem. And unfortunately, our COO, have you met Angelo?
Yes.
Yeah.
Love Angelo.
He's amazing.
Solid guy.
Amazing. I mean, and I've podcasted with Angelo before. If you guys want to go hear about, the guy who's running Keon.
He's a wizard.
Well, he cares.
He's a wizard, Harry.
He cares a lot about what happens there in the company, and without him, I think I'd have a much harder time just ensuring that we have happy company culture and people who actually, just love as much as our employees at Keon love to work there. Like, so Angela's been a real saving grace when it comes to me being a virtual CEO.
How many employees do you guys have now?
Oh, you would ask me that. I think we're if you combine employees and independent contractors, I think we're in like the mid 30s. I think actual employees is like mid 20s.
That's good.
There. So growing.
Yeah, fast.
Yeah. Okay, so back to we're pretty good at rabbit holing, I would say.
We are moving around.
And I'm going to keep bringing it back. So you're fasted. You've gotten the workout in, and then what?
Yeah. Usually yoga, some type of recovery. I do.
Right after the workout?
Yeah, stretching out, bringing that heart rate variability back in, like the, sympathetic nervous system, getting rid of that. I do TRE too every day. Yeah. 5 minutes of trauma release exercises.
Is that like tapping?
No, it's where you lay on the ground and you allow tremors. Peter Levine writes about this in trauma release. So a lot of kids, I was tortured as a child. We've talked about it in one of the other podcasts, but abused. So trauma gets stored in your vagus nerve and all in your body. It's your subconscious mind. So what helps, and they discovered this in India when the bombs were going off, these kids would run to their parents and they would sit in their parents' laps and just shake, tremor. And then the next day they were out playing in the field again while the parents were still in their heads thinking about, oh God, these bombs could be going off again. And they were afraid to go outside. And the kids were just so easygoing. And what they realized is that the tremors were actually moving the trauma through the body.
Wow.
And we have PTSD, trauma, everything that's happening all the time around us in this environment today with all the stressors, and there's no really active form of releasing it anymore. Yeah. A gazelle gets attacked, right, by a cheetah. Cheetah drags it in the forest. All of a sudden, it's holding on to the gazelle's neck. For that brief moment while the cheetah goes off and gets her cubs, the gazelle is still laying there, but is still alive. What happens next is very interesting. Gazelle jumps up, boom, takes off, runs back to the herd. That vagus nerve that's in the gazelle, the fight or flight, the oldest nerve we have as a human being that allows the birds to fly together, the fishes flock together, all of a sudden starts shaking and dancing in the herd as soon as it gets back. And that's what it is. It's the tremors. So I try to do that every day. And what I've noticed, even before I go on stage, brother, even before I talk, I do videos, I do 3 to 5 minutes of this TRE, and it's like... It's like doing an hour of meditation.
See a video of what this looks like if they were to just Google.
It's on YouTube. I think TRE. I've done a video in the past on it on Fit Life TV as well.
Fascinating.
Yeah, super powerful. We can do some tonight if you want to see the benefits. I bet you couple that with CBD or something.
You should try it out. Yeah. That's very interesting. I'd never heard of that. Now this gazelle, does it then die?
No,
is that
so it was wounded.
Death dance. So
no,
it's just wounded.
Okay, it's just shaking out the trauma.
Wow.
So other animals do it. You can see it.
Yeah.
Right? Like even a dog that gets a little trauma comes in, shakes out after a shower even. I mean, if they're wet and there, but there's still you know, stuff going on.
Paul Check is a very big fan of, and I was at his house a couple days ago as part of the San Diego trip of he calls it working in as you're working out, stopping between sets and doing deep nasal breathing and almost Tai Chi-esque flow.
Love Tai
type
Chi.
of exercising. My own flavor of that is that I will, usually if I'm working out at my home gym, I'll go on a light walk with nasal breathing, or I'll get into the cold pool for just a very brief period of time. Because if you spend too much time in the cold pool after a workout, you'll blunt the hormetic response to exercise. But it's okay to just cool the core temperature and activate the parasympathetic nervous system a little bit after the workout. So I get in there for about 3 to 5 minutes and just swim very quietly underwater, back and forth.
So peaceful.
In the cold pool. Because my setup is that I have one of these endless pools. It's made by Aqua Fitness, and it's about 19 feet long. And I just don't heat it, and it stays about 55 to 60 degrees.
Perfect.
And during the summer, when it gets warm in Spokane, I keep it covered. And whenever anybody's out and about, we always pick up a bag of ice and drop it in there, just passively, not on a schedule or anything. But that always does enough to keep it cool.
Keeps it colder.
So I jump in there, and I just swim back and forth under the water, because for me, and I do this a lot when I travel as well, and I'm staying at a hotel that has a nice, you know, like a mineral pool that you can. For me, one of the most relaxing resets I can do for my body is to swim underwater. For some reason, it water just feels, and there's a great book about how water affects human physiology, activates the mammalian dive reflex and the vagus nerve. I believe it's called Blue. I think I'll hunt it down and put it in the show notes. But that is one of the most parasympathetically activating things that I do after a workout, is just get in the water and swim back and forth, or do the deep nasal breathing and a brief walk.
Have you interviewed Kimmy Werner?
Yes, Swimmy Kimmy.
Yeah.
Yeah, the huntress, the underwader huntress.
She's great. Yeah, friend of mine, like total badass.
I didn't know you guys are friends.
Yeah, like Indiana Jones, but like the female version underneath the water.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I am writing a fiction book right now, the sequel to the first book that I wrote called The Forest, and this one's called The Ocean. Yeah. The entire book takes place in an underwater world, and as I'm prone to do, I try to work in as much science and survival, and like I want the books, even though they're fiction and fantasy, to be believable. Yeah. Right. So I've created this entire underwater world. And a tribe, a community in that underwater world is these women who are huntresses and spearfisher women. And Kimmy was the inspiration for that, as far as like the meals they're preparing.
She's gangster.
The spears, their bodies, everything. Like, if you guys are listening, go look up Kimmy Swimming on Instagram or listen to my podcast with her. It's super inspiring.
Yeah, I've only connected with her a few times, but I'm always inspired when I connect with her. And I read a book, fiction book series recently called Anastasia. Have you read her, like those books?
No.
Similar to what you're explaining, though.
Yeah.
Like, one of the things I remember, this was long ago, but she would take the seeds out in the garden, put them in her mouth so that her DNA would help fragment the DNA molecules in the actual seed, so that when you eat the fruit on it in the future, it would actually help your body break it down, digest it easier. And I don't know if that's like ancient Aboriginal stuff or if it's borderline like fringe fiction, you know?
That's really interesting.
Super cool, though. Like, and it was littered with stuff like that.
Anastasia?
Anastasia.
All right. You know, we'll be adding all this for those.
I'll see if I can dig it up for you too. I know links. I have the books here.
We'll put links in the show notes. Yeah, this sequel to The Forest is called The Ocean. Just all an underwater world.
Fiction's fun, isn't it?
Oh, it's
writing it especially.
It's just 20 minutes a day, and I check out. And my first fiction series, or my first fiction book I wrote, was Fridays and Saturdays. I would write for about an hour and a half. And I actually microdosed with LSD, about 10 to 20 micrograms of LSD on Friday and Saturday mornings, and it just dissolved my ego, and I merged my left and right hemispheres.
Powerful.
And got creative and analytical and just wrote. But this next book is different for me. It's just 20 minutes a day. Just write something 20 minutes a day. And I'll be honest with you, sometimes it's like 4 sentences. Because the other 15 minutes is spent researching how someone would cook some kind of algae or kelp underwater, or how are we going to desalinate the water that these people are drinking when they're under, or how would the solar flare from the top of the ocean where people can't actually operate, like how long would it take before the world would sink, because I have to get the timelines and the genealogies correct. So sometimes it's literally 15 minutes of research and I've got 5 minutes left to write 4 sentences, but I'm hoping by the time I'm 50, I've got the entire 5-book series done. So
that's rad that you're writing it.
Yeah.
And the evolutionary response, even as a human being underwater, is so fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like how the hands just prune up. That's actually grip.
Yep.
And it takes, 3 to 5 minutes before they start to prune? That's like your evolution's happening right there.
Yeah, the spleen compresses and releases new red blood cells. It's, underwater, free diving, spearfishing. When I first tapped into that world like 3 years ago, I realized I'd been missing out on a big part of human existence on this planet Earth, and how connected we are to the water, and how disconnected many people are, afraid of the water, afraid of sharks, afraid of pressurizing and equalizing. But if you as a human being, and I wish I'd done this earlier in my life, if you as a human being can learn at an early age just how to be comfortable underwater, and how to hunt underwater, and how to collect and harvest underwater, I'm fascinated by all of that. And that is, speaking of Spokane, Washington, that's one of the things I miss when I come to a place like this. And I'm right by, I was out in the ocean this morning.
You're so close to it.
I miss those negative ions, and I miss the enormous expanse of water that you can just explore.
Yeah, we try to jump in as much as possible. The wolf pack, just go to the ocean, jump in, even when it's super cold, get that cold dip.
It's amazing. It's the best way to get negative ions, aside from going for a walk after a lightning storm in your bare feet.
Yeah.
Those are the two best things you can do to ground and earth your body, is to jump in the ocean or to go for a walk after a lightning storm.
So the pool here is saltwater. It is not 50, 55 degrees. It's probably 75 right now.
Yeah.
But it's deep enough so you can go down and meditate.
Yeah.
I try to open my eyes, and I've been tracking.
You're not talking about your cold plunge now. You're talking about your pool.
And I try to track to see, Ben, if I can actually see better over time underwater with my eyes open.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah. I love it. So you've parasympathetically kind of like reset your system with the tremoring after the workout.
Yeah.
And then what comes next for you? What kind of other interesting things are you doing during the day to optimize your body or your mind?
Music's important to me. So likened to you, guitar. I got a Pantheon steel hand drum that I play here, which helps left and right hemisphere activation. So doing a little bit of that, then writing. I just got this baby grand, as you can see it behind me.
Yeah.
I love the piano, man. Like just jamming out on that.
So you can play and sing simultaneously?
I'm working on that.
Yeah.
A couple songs, like some bar classics, like Billy Joel's Piano Man's pretty easy. And there's an app called Simply Piano. If you're trying to learn, you just plug away at that. I do, like you said, 20 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day, and you do it most days of the week, and before you know it, you start to pick it up. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. Simply Piano. I'll have to write that down, because one of the things that I really appreciate, because I'm learning, well, not learning, but I play guitar and ukulele, and I'm working on
ukulele's fun.
Song. What do you call it?
Piano Man, or Simply Piano is the app.
Yeah, I'll check it out later. What I am working on is singing, songwriting, playing open mics, etc. But one thing I've always thought would be cool to do is Elton John or Lady Gaga style, just sit down at that piano and do a ballad. Like, to me, that's incredibly appealing, and I would love to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to add that Simply Piano into my
and just do it every day. It trains your left and your right hand. I bought the headphones you told me to get.
The Halo headset.
Used them a few times.
There is an extremely famous musician. Who I'm connected with, and I hooked him up with a Halo, and everybody listening will know who it is. I'm not going to say his name, but he uses a Halo now as he's singing, songwriting before he plays music, and he says it's working. So because it upregulates motor neurons and increases neuroplasticity, so you get better left-right hand coordination, better motor learning. It cements what you learn more quickly. And it's actually, it was designed for athletes, but it's actually quite effective for music or gaming.
I have 2 hand pans here. I'd love to see what your take is on testing that for like 5 minutes, just channeling, like freestyle, hitting the hand pan.
What's a hand pan?
Let me grab one real quick. Do you care?
Go for it.
It's real close to us.
Go for it. Yeah.
We'll play a little bit on the show so people can hear this.
All right, you guys. Drew's going to play us some Muzak.
And you got to really feel.
All right. So Drew's going to get his hand pan. We're not even going to edit this out. That's amazing. This thing's beautiful. Wow. If you guys are listening, you could probably Google hand pan to see what this looks like.
So this is a Pantheon steel. They make like 40 of these a year.
Wow.
I bought it from basically a Toltec shaman, sorcerer. Like this thing, it sounds insane.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Where did you learn to play it?
You teach yourself. So you can kind of get the feel.
It's very soothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me of the same type of feel I get from like a harp, for example.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is a lot like a harp.
It's beautiful.
Like that feel. And you could do this, Ben, for 30, 40 minutes.
Wow.
And before you feel like you've been playing it for 2 minutes.
Yeah. I would imagine you probably feel very similar after doing that as you would after you've meditated, for example.
Yes.
Yeah.
So 30 minutes of meditation, 3 minutes of this.
Wow.
It's insane. And every drum, like you can buy, of course, different notes, different keys.
Yeah.
And you get used to it over time. But doing this before writing, before getting, it really gets you into your heart. Mm-hmm. And I think as a man, like that's where you want to be, especially with writing. And sometimes we're in our head a lot. You know?
Wow. Tell me about your garden.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
So thank you. I've had, Marcos has been really helpful, and Christy, who is actually Bob Taylor's garden, the guy that creates Taylor guitars.
Oh, no kidding.
She's my gardener. And
that's funny. I've actually got my eye on, I played a Taylor guitar when I was down in Switzerland. I didn't have my musical instruments with me. One of the attendees at the clinic I was at there, he had brought his guitar. But the Taylor guitars, they're slightly smaller. They seem like at least the models I've seen, like the travel models.
Yeah.
The sound from those things is amazing.
I have one here. I'll bring it in.
Yeah.
I got that, the Martin, and we'll see
have to
if
play
you tell
tonight.
the difference.
Yeah. We'll play tonight for sure.
Yeah. And so we switch it up seasonally. We got a lot of greens out there, as you've seen, Swiss chard, collard greens, different types of lettuce. Lots of tomatoes right now. Mm-hmm. Tomatoes are everywhere.
Are you guys using anything special as far as like a composting or?
So what I did is I took organite and I buried it in the soil. So I put it in every perimeter and everything.
And for people who don't know, what is organite?
You probably know better than I do. Yeah. Isn't it like 7 different minerals and crystal structure?
It's very mineral rich.
Yeah.
It's basically a natural fertilizer that's extremely rich in minerals, which is great because the plants are going to pull that up out of the soil and you're actually going to get more mineral rich produce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we got compost that had a bunch of worm castings in it. Mm-hmm. The soil's very nutrient dense. And irrigation obviously is key out there as well. We have like I said, lots of tomatoes, all the leafy greens you could ever imagine. We got rid of all of our rooted veggies except for right now squash is in season. So we're just epic amounts of squash, and they're huge.
Love squash.
Massive squash.
One of my favorite things to do is bake squash with a little raw honey and nut butter and sea salt.
We got tons here.
It's a great
so if you
treat.
want a good carb tonight, I got Japanese sweet potatoes as well, but we could always do a little squash.
Yeah. We're having, by the way, Paul Saladino, the carnivore diet enthusiast, over for ribeyes tonight. He tried to feed us testicles last night. We were out
did.
at sushi. Yeah.
We had a little taste.
Raw testicles. They did not have us pay a corking fee. They let us eat the testicles right there at the sushi place. And I'm going to show you using probably some rosemary and thyme, some of your basil out there, some dandelion, some pine nuts or walnuts, little olive oil, salt and pepper, and we'll make some pesto to go along with the ribeye, because I have discovered that even more than like a steak sauce or like a truffle butter or anything else, one of my favorite things to dip my ribeyes in is a homemade pesto. So we'll do a pesto tonight.
Yeah, we'll do pesto. Yeah. Chimichurri is always good too.
Yeah.
Little homemade chimichurri.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, we got a bunch of citrus trees out there as well. grapefruit, apple, peaches, plums, pears. I mean, you could imagine.
Do you personally garden at all? Do you use that as therapy or for a little grounding or earthing? Or?
So you saw the bench out there, that teak bench. I go out there, I meditate, I sit there, put my hands in the soil. And also I have two speakers out there, pretty big speakers. I'll play solfeggio frequencies. I'll play different types of classical music to really connect to the plants.
There's some evidence that shows that could be helpful for the plants as well.
That's what they've shown.
Yeah.
Yeah, and speaking, positive affirmations to them.
Yeah.
So every day I go out there and I try to say a few things positive to the plants.
Yeah.
Like the weird plant guy.
Yeah.
Neighbors come walking up the street and they're like, what's this guy doing out here?
Yeah.
But I like to freak the neighborhood out a little bit.
Schizophrenic neighbor talking to his vegetables. Yeah. So you're gardening, and then you also you're into some of these technologies and biohacks. Over here to our left here, you brought out some new electrostim device you're going to be experimenting with. What's that one? The power dot.
Yeah, the Power Dot. This thing's brand new.
I've heard of it. I haven't used it yet. I have one of those new fit Russian eStim units that is a little bit more of a pain in the ass than that Power Dot to actually connect all the electrodes to your body, but it'll simulate like 600 pounds of contractile force. Like the problem is I'll only use it about once a month because I'm sore for a couple weeks after I use it. Like it causes so much eccentric muscle tissue damage, but it's primarily used to retrain muscles. So if I feel like my knees are beginning to hurt because my vastus medialis is turned off, I'll hook it up to that and it'll retrain the entire musculature in like 5 minutes. So that doesn't leave you sore for a long time. But if I do a full workout with it, I'm super sore.
That makes sense. I'll have to look into
because you
one of those.
recruit muscles you would otherwise normally not recruit, and very small muscles as well that would be around a joint. So if you hook it up to your ass, you'll be working glute max, glute med, glute minimus, and all those muscles together. That's actually, I know which muscles I don't use as well when I'm running or squatting or lifting weights, because those are the muscles that are the most sore after I use that new fit.
Yeah,
it just turns them back on. But what else do you like around here as far as technologies go?
I have a Hyper Vibe as well, one of the vibrational plates in the gym. That I like to use.
Yeah.
I have a Beamer mat, which I love, which actually got me interested in the PMF device, and you got me interested in that as well.
I'm going to apologize to the Beamer.
Night and day difference.
But you're gonna like the PMF.
Yeah.
The Pulse Center's one way better.
We have a hyperbaric chamber here as well, which I like. Yeah. It's soft enclosure.
Yeah.
I'd love to get one of the hard ones.
Yeah. The HBOT chambers are useful. I think the problem with them, or people's perception of them, is a lot of people will try a hyperbaric chamber for a few days, if they've had a head injury, or they'll trial one at some health conference or something like that. Most of the research on them shows that the benefits, from a mitochondrial standpoint or an angiogenesis standpoint or cardiovascular standpoint, kick in after about 20 to 30 sessions in a row. Wow. So you need to be in that thing, either taking a nap or working or whatever for about an hour a day for nearly a month before you start to realize the full benefits. Yeah. I'm in the process of getting one right now for my little basement biohacking area.
The research that I looked at, it's about 4 times more powerful, the hard one, as opposed to the soft.
I was talking with Joe Mercola about it yesterday. He has a hard one. I think his hard one costs like $100,000 though.
You can get them now. You can get them around 25, 35.
Yeah, I think the one that I'm looking at is a soft chamber. I forget the name of the company that's talking to me about it right now, but it's not the full on hard one.
It's still great. I mean, mine's soft. I sat in it. I would say 35, 40 sessions in a row when I first moved into the house.
Yeah,
and every afternoon. Probably around 2 or 3 o'clock, when usually we hit that afternoon slump, I would just jump in there, reset myself, read, and then jump out. You feel it superhuman, like you're 2 inches taller when you come out of that thing. All the oxygen that's pumping in there. Make sure you get a cooling unit too that hooks up to it.
Yeah,
and get a little hot in there.
Yeah, my afternoon reset right now is that 20-minute New Calm device. You use the New Calm at all? Yeah.
I looked into it when I heard you talk about it.
It's a game changer. Thing's amazing.
Get one.
I put on my Mindfold sleep mask. I plug in my Bose noise blocking headphones. Plug them into the app, the New Calm app.
Yeah.
And the only setting I ever use on it is their 20-minute power nap setting. And then I flip on the New Calm, and it just resets everything. You slip in and out of a
like a conscious and unconscious state. But they're doing research studies right now on it, and you can go to their website and read some of it. But it simulates a full 90-minute sleep cycle in 20 minutes.
Wow!
And resets the HRV. So they've got really good studies on HRV now.
Really?
So I swear by that thing now. Because for me, 20 minutes in the afternoon, like that's a palatable amount of
that's
time.
Huge.
A lot of times I don't have an hour to just lay down.
Now, is it binaural or trinaural beat that they're using to do that?
It's a mix of binaural. I think they have some isochronic in there too, and then kind of like Brain FM, I believe, almost like this AI-based algorithm that pumps out,
shifts it,
these things that kind of shift and confuse
cool.
your brain. Yeah, so it
Smart.
distracts you and gets your mind off of any racing thoughts. So it works well. Now that kind of leads into something I also wanted to ask you about, and that would be, towards the end of the day, you've woven in all this stuff. And I know you like to wind down at the end of the day. We talked a little bit about CBD.
Yeah.
Talked about the chili pad, some of these essential oils. But I know you're really into hacking your sleep. So what else are you doing as far as sleep is concerned, or your pre-bed routine?
Yeah, one of the things I love to do pre-bed is I look at my day. And I learned this from a medicine woman in the Yucatan jungle. I went down there and I stayed with the Ekbalam village, the people, the indigenous people in Ekbalam, like a community of 200 people. They don't even have power there, right? They're making corn on these stone stoves.
Oh, wow.
And I was down there for a week, and I was talking to this medicine woman, and she said, every day, observe your day as if it's an eagle is watching it from above. And if you judge yourself at all, or there's any moment that you judged, stop and try to do it the next day. And then the eagle the next night, until you can do an entire day, day after day, without judging. No judgment, nothing like that. So one of the things I love to do is observe my day as the observer, as opposed to just Drew, the ego of Drew, the identity of Drew.
It reminds me of what Benjamin Franklin would do with his journal. I believe it was the Journal of Virtues or something like that. And you'll see this repeated amongst a lot of great thinkers, is this idea of some form of self-examination at the end of the
retrospection.
Day. What good have I done this day? And honestly, I do something very similar. I lay in bed and ask myself, what good have I done this day? And I think about the day, which also, and my friend Peter Martone, who I interviewed about sleep on the podcast a few months ago, actually taught me that when you tap into the limbic system and recall memories, whether it's from that day or from childhood or from a week ago, you actually lull yourself to sleep more quickly because you remove a lot of the racing thoughts from the frontal cortex. And I have found on many days that, as depressing a message as this might be, I didn't do the good that I wanted to do. I could have been much better than I actually was as far as my impact, my productivity, etc. So it's a very useful exercise, this idea of self-examination.
It wakes you up.
Yeah.
Right now you and I think we're awake, but there's a whole another level of being awake.
Yeah.
We've seen it. You've probably hinted around it with some of the plant medicinals and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But to be very aware during the awakened day will actually wake you up in the dream. So as you do go to sleep, then all of a sudden you're lucid.
Yeah.
Now, 3 or 4 nights a week, I would say 50% of my dream space, I'm lucid.
Yeah.
So now I'm traveling, I'm reading books in my sleep.
Yeah.
Like Doctor Strange is a documentary, dude. Like that's real.
I haven't seen that movie.
In fact, one of the dreams last night is I had already done the podcast with you. And it was cool because we got to connect as brothers and talk about some of the stuff I wanted to talk to you about. And one of the things actually was the Wolfpack stuff.
Yeah.
And it just wove itself into our awakened state now, having that conversation.
Yeah.
And it's something that changes your life.
It's programming. I mean, even if you read Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton or Dawson Church's book, Mind to Matter, or any of Joe Dispenza's teaching, you can program yourself, not only epigenetically, but you can program your subconscious to achieve what it is that you want to achieve the next day and then sleep on it. And that's incredibly powerful.
Yeah, tell your subconscious what you want.
Yeah.
One thing I also do, Ben, and I wanted to share this with your people too, because they'll love this, is 3 people that you impacted. Send them an audio. Hey, I really want to let you know that moment we spent together did this for me. I want to let you know that you're on the right track.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed connecting with you.
Yeah.
I used to write 3 notes as like handwritten notes and mail them out because the art of a handwritten letter just died so long ago. It's kind of cool to still do.
Yeah.
But just audios on the phone.
That's woven into the gratitude journal that I use is one person. Who can I pray for or help or serve this day? Which means you are making a connection either subconsciously and spiritually if you're just praying for them, which you'd be amazed at the number of people who will connect with you later on and tell you that they felt as though something was happening to them. Or if you're helping or serving someone, you're literally reaching out to 365 people a year. Sometimes it's the same person. Sometimes it's your mom 3 days in a row or whatever. But it's a very powerful way to stay connected and to ensure that you're not just self-examining yourself at the end of the day, but you're actually taking action and doing good the next day.
And if you look at the human body, you and I would agree that we're two separate human, physical, biological beings, but we also have energy bodies, as we're well aware of. Yeah. And our energy body, what is it, like 8 to 12 feet across. So we're constantly connecting with other people's energy fields. Yeah. So as I'm sending you a note telling you how much I enjoy connecting with you on this podcast, that's now in your field. Yeah. So as you go throughout the day, that's also impacting other people's fields, whether or not you know it, whether or not you even observe it. Yeah. So
amazing.
It's cool.
Yeah. I know we're running a little tight on time.
Yeah. And we got more lamb testicles to eat tonight. And Paul's here.
Paul's about to show up with more lamb testicles. But you know my audience. I know you've heard this podcast, and I know that you do have a lot of wisdom that you've accumulated over the years. Is there anything else that you want to share with folks? Yeah. Any message that you would like to get out there that you feel would be helpful in addition to the gems you've already poured out?
Listening to your podcast, Ben, because I'm actually a consumer as well as a creator. You're one of the few podcasts I listen to. It's easy to listen and be like, you know what, I got to get everything Ben's saying.
Mine and the SpongeBob SquarePants show.
Basically. Yeah. And when you do the Organifi ads, those are the best ads.
Yes, of course they are.
And I feel like I should be paying you every time I say Organifi on your show right now.
Yeah,
so
shameless.
Organifi. Yeah. But I feel like it's real easy to think, you know what, whatever's Ben's doing, I have to do it, and I have to perform at that level. And I think one of the biggest things that your listeners get to hear is you got to be kinder to yourself. There's so much self-beat up. There's so much, I need to be here if I'm not. This guy's starting a company that already has 35 employees listening to it, and it's growing so fast.
I need to get a cold pool and talk to my vegetables.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. But don't do it. Be kind to yourself. Take it at your own pace. Yeah. And what's crazy is when you link the mind, when you link your energy field with your body, and you do these things for yourself every single day consistently, you'll be blown away at where you are a year from now, 2 years from now. You can look back at your life right now and think, was it just 6 years ago I met you? Yeah. Right? And it was just kind of the beginning of where you were. Yeah. And now, but you did it consistently over time, and you were obsessive. You have this obsessive nature about yourself, which has worked really well. Yeah. So it's cool to witness.
It's stacking. It's a slow rolling snowball. And I remember 6 years ago, we walked into a little seafood restaurant here in San Diego. Yeah. You and me and Sean Croxton from Underground Wellness Radio.
He was doing wellness then. Now he's doing like mindset, personal development stuff.
He's a good guy. Shout out to him. Look him up too if you're listening in. So it's a lot has changed since then, but I am very, very impressed by what you've achieved.
Thank you, my friend.
Inspired by what you do, and I have deep respect for you, man.
Likewise, brother.
I love you.
Yeah, I love you too. Appreciate that. You're in the wolf pack, dude.
In the wolf pack. Well, folks, thanks for listening. And all the show notes are going to be at bengreenfieldfitness.com/Drew. I'll link to all the books we mentioned, all the little products, all the past podcasts that I did with Drew. If you want to hear a little bit more about his backstory and the company, Organifi, everything will be in those show notes at bengreenfieldfitness.com/Drew. So check them out and have an amazing week. Well, thanks for listening to today's show. You can grab all the show notes, the resources, pretty much everything that I mentioned over at bengreenfieldfitness.com, along with plenty of other goodies from me, including the highly helpful Ben Recommends page, which is a list of pretty much everything that I've ever recommended for hormones, sleep, digestion, fat loss, performance, and
plenty more. Please also know that all the links, all the promo codes that I mentioned during this and every episode help to make this podcast happen and to generate income that enables me to keep bringing you this content every single week. So when you listen in, be sure to use the links in the show notes, use the promo codes that I generate, because that helps to float this thing and keep it coming to you each and every week.